Okay, so so we have about an hour and a half, and I hope it can be meaningful for all of us in some way. You have to go before hour and a half, that's fine. To let you know, there'll probably be most probably be a what we call a Guru Puja tomorrow evening at a slightly earlier time of 6 p.m. It would take too long right now to explain what a Guru Puja is. But just if you know Hindi, then of course the words themselves mean something. It's the offering to the Guru, or the offering to the spiritual teacher, in which there's a whole lot of prayers and meditations, potential meditations. Potential meaning, one way to do such practices is to just rush through them, rattle through them super fast or medium fast without stopping and not meditating at all, not stopping and meditating on the meaning. And this is often the way it's done due to time constraints. But we would do it a little bit of a mix of chanting as well as reading and some meditation. Yeah, that's why it can take a little while. Anyway, it will take an hour and a half at least. So that's tomorrow, 6 p.m., most likely. The posting will go up in the morning. And then Sunday, our normal Sunday morning program at 11. Okay, so now I'd like us all to sit comfortably, but upright if possible. So if you're sitting in a chair, the temptation is just to lean back and enjoy the back of the chair, which of course, by all means do that if you have a bad back. But if not, then I'd encourage you to use your own strength to sit up straight. You might need to prop a pillow, a cushion at the base of your spine, even if you're on a chair. That will help to support your back. That's important. Then the shoulders level, the head tilted slightly downwards, forwards. That helps to take pressure off the neck. Arms relaxed by the side of the body, the little gap between torso and the arms. Let air circulate, hands in the lap or on the knees or thighs, whatever's comfortable. Eyes closed or very slightly open. And as I said, the gaze tilted downwards. So the whole idea is to create a sense of balance, a sense of stillness, but together with that, relaxation and ease, because partly it makes sense in the context of our lives, which are full of dis-ease and speed and stress and all the rest of it. And also because what we are in a sense working towards, the process we're working towards is a state of full awakening, the awakening of a Buddha. And Buddhas, although you might say Buddhas are very busy people in the sense that they are 24 hours benefiting others, there is absolutely not a tiny bit of any trace of stress or strain or anxiety in the consciousness, in the mind of a fully awakened person, none whatsoever. And that is possible simply because we have the seed of that ease and relaxation within our minds right now. If the seed wasn't there, then it couldn't possibly blossom into Buddhahood. But we have that capability, and we can begin to contact that capability even now in our very confused, restless, and speedy state. Even within that, by slowing down and paying attention, by sitting in this way, and by having the intention, creating the intention to sit and to generate a calm, peaceful state of mind, then it is certainly possible to get a glimpse of a state beyond our normal, stressful, speedy rushing around. So make sure you're comfortable again and your back is upright and supported. Your head should not be tilted to one side or the other. You make sure it's straight, it's in the middle. This is where smartphones can be useful. On the selfie mode, you can see what you look like. And sometimes our bodies are quite strangely twisted. So the head tilted slightly forwards and in the center between, centered, which is not the case for some of you, but anyway, be aware of that when you have time on your own. You can look at yourself in a mirror when you sit to practice. This posture, you might ask why. Well, I've already explained a little bit, but it's not as though this posture is absolutely essential. It's not as though we couldn't sit in a relaxed manner slightly differently from this. We could. And in fact, it could be very effective. But as beginners, some discipline is good. Otherwise, we would just sit any which way and it wouldn't work. So just like we need to be quite disciplined to do anything properly, this is the case with our meditation practice as well. But if we practice a bit, I guess then later, even while walking or driving a car, talking to somebody, possibly even in a slightly stressful situation where someone is not being considerate or pleasant to you, you could still maintain a very calm, clear, awake state. So from what I've said already, I've hinted, more than hinted, that we are all potential awakened beings, potential Buddhas. The confusion and all the other disturbing mental factors we experience, they are temporary. Like inclement weather in certain countries, which appears sometimes not to go away. But in the end, whichever country we live in, at some point the sky does clear and the sun becomes visible. That's the case with us, with our minds. We may right now be feeling all kinds of things, physically sluggish, restless. Mentally, we might feel, I don't know, upset, sad, irritated, angry, excited, even joyful. It could be anything. But these experiences, they don't last. Nothing is permanent in the sense of not changing. So we don't need to take what is happening in our mind right now 100% seriously, in the sense we don't need to identify with it. We can just let it be. without any kind of tension whatsoever. When we slow down and pay attention in a calm, clear way, then we might realize, we might experience a sense of what could be called spaciousness, a sense of space, when you don't feel cluttered. You don't feel like there's a mental traffic jam. Thoughts are coming and going, sensations, feelings, maybe memories, plans for this evening and beyond, but they're just happening in a sense of spaciousness. One is not disturbed by them. And one is certainly not overreacting to them by grasping onto them or pushing them away. We simply let them be. But yes, for us, it's useful to have something also like the breath, which we can return to as a point of stability and calm, focus. So bring the attention to the sensation of breath in the body. As you breathe in, be aware of it. As you breathe out, be aware of the out-breath. The out-breath is very, very useful also as a vehicle for letting go and relaxing. And letting go will be one of the main themes that we look at later in the session. For the moment, for the time being, be with the breath. Don't get caught up in thoughts. When they come, recognize, but let them go. And bring the attention back to the breathing. So we'll sit like this quietly for some time together. Okay. So as you know, we've been looking extensively at one aspect of what is called in the tradition immeasurable loving kindness, Maitri, Brahma Vihar. And we're paying a lot of attention to this aspect of kindness and Maitri towards oneself, because it seems to me, from my own as well as other people's experience, that lack of Maitri towards oneself is pretty disastrous. Disastrous in the sense, perhaps that's too strong a word, but it leads to a very twisted, possibly, and not necessarily insincere, but it leads to a so-called spiritual path which is not very authentic, because it's based on something rather flimsy. It could be based on a kind of escape or a kind of compensation, compensatory device to distract ourselves from the pain we feel, the pain that comes from not having a good relationship with oneself. And that could have, we're not going to go right now into a lot of what Western psychology may say about that. Not that Western psychology is totally wrong, not like that, but it seems to me that Buddhism has a very deep approach to this, which is that, excuse me, all of our problems, all of our pain, all of our misery, all of our inauthenticity, hypocrisy, whatever you call it, also our self-deception, comes from not understanding ourselves and not making friends with ourselves properly. It comes from not being able to cope with fear, with insecurity, uncertainty, and so forth. And just to remind us, so that it's always in the background, although it, again, to really get to the bottom of this is a very long task, I would say. But don't forget that what Buddhism is saying is that all of this problem comes from an inability to let go, an inability to let go, and a grasping or holding on very tightly to a sense of I, me, and mine, basically. So Buddhists would say that we have a body and we have a mind. The body is composed of innumerable parts, all of which are changing moment by moment, right? And with our insights now that we have in modern science and with the technology we have, we don't even need to rely totally on meditators. We can rely on, I don't know, electron microscopes and all sorts of things to show us that this apparently solid body is changing moment by moment. What it appears on the outside is not at all what is going on at a deeper level. And the fact we get old and die means to a Buddhist that we are changing split second by split second. It's not as though every evening we just change a little bit, like, I don't know, like a clock that you would just put forward 24 hours at the end of a day and the rest of the day it would be still. No, there's constant movement, just like there's constant movement of the second hand of a clock, but even more subtle than that, microsecond to microsecond, we're changing. So this body, which appears so solid, is changing. Then there's the mind, what we call the mind, which is an incredibly complex combination of various kinds of consciousnesses: ear, eye, nose, tongue, touch consciousness, so many levels of mental consciousness, from very gross to very subtle, from the most gross levels of waking consciousness to the very subtle level of dream and then deep sleep, where consciousness is still operating, but very subtle level. So all of this is happening, and mind, awareness, consciousness also never stopping, changing moment by moment, split second to split second. So that's the, and of course, it's an incredible array of different perceptions, mental factors, discriminations, feelings, thoughts, you name it. So much happening, intentions, expectations, images. There is so much that could be said about what this so-called mind means, what it not contains, because it's not like it's a box which has these things, but all of these processes are happening. And we, for ease, we call it mind. There are many, many, many words denoting consciousness and mind in the Sanskrit and Tibetan languages. There are not so many in English. We have awareness, we have cognition, we have mind, we have consciousness. We do have a few, but not nearly the range that is there in Sanskrit and therefore Tibetan, because it was translated from Sanskrit very, very carefully into Tibetan. They invented a new language, basically, to translate the teachings from Sanskrit and Pali. Okay, so what I'm getting at is this. So we are a body, we are a combination of body and mind, which is so complex and changing moment by moment. And what do? We say, looking at this, being aware of this combination of body-mind, we fixate on something that we call I, me, some kind of manager, owner. I say owner because we do say, don't we, my body, my mind. So then Buddhists would ask, well, where does this owner reside? You know, which part of your mind or body is the owner, you know? It has to be something separate from body and mind, isn't it? To be an owner, if you say, I own a bag, I own a watch, you're not the same as your watch. The watch and you can be separated, right? And you say, my watch, my bag, my home, etc. So when we say my body, my mind, it's as though there's something separate from body and mind, right? We have to follow this logically. But then where is that thing? Where is the me who we say has a hand, has a body, has an opinion, has a memory, etc.? So this is in the context of kindness, remember, to oneself. And we've said several times already now in the last few days and weeks, ultimate kindness is to understand reality. Then we will be free of this hallucination that we have been torturing ourselves with since beginningless time. It's a hallucination, a very dangerous and scary one, which has been tormenting us since beginningless time. And we say it's a hallucination because it is not based on what is the actuality, what is the reality of the situation from an awakened point of view. Of course, reality for a paranoid person or a neurotic person or a, I don't know, schizoid, schizophrenic person is one thing. But we wouldn't say that that is very close to what actually exists, you know? If you're wearing blue sunglasses and you see a white snow mountain as blue, then most people hopefully will tell you that it's not blue, you know? You're seeing it as blue, that's your problem, you know? That's because you're wearing a certain kind of glasses. But it's actually white, conventionally white. So the point we're making here is that, of course, people can say, well, this is my reality and that's my reality. But according to an awakened awareness that sees clearly, without hope, without fear, without aversion, without attachment, reality is a certain way. And it's changing moment by moment, and there is no independent owner, I, of this body and mind. Just doesn't exist at all. It's a hallucination. It's made up. Doesn't exist. Never did exist. But if you believe something exists, then of course it has power. You know, if a 15th century villager thought that so-and-so person was a witch and was doing black magic on him or her, then that poor person could even be burnt to death, right? Because of what we believe. What we believe makes us behave in certain ways. If I torment a person who's very afraid of spiders with an empty box, and say, you know what's in this box, don't you? And they know that you know they're afraid of spiders, then you could drive that person nuts. They would be sweating and maybe trembling, begging you not to open the box. So anyway, the point is a very simple one. We create our own reality, but it could be totally a hallucination, completely wrong. So that's what we've been doing since beginning this time. And we're tormenting ourselves through that. So if we begin to investigate what we really are, that's the act of supreme kindness towards ourselves. And then, of course, it will make us behave in a much more balanced and open and spacious way with others. We will then be able to relate with others and help them properly. Because right now we're relating to people on the basis mainly of anger, attachment, jealousy, pride, fear, expectation, a lot of expectation, some hostility occasionally, of course, or even a lot. So we're relating with the world and with other people in a very, very twisted way, very unhealthy, suffering manner, totally unsatisfactory. We need to get to grips with that that is what is happening. And although I may be considered an upstanding member of society and, you know, donate money to the appropriate funds and dress properly and be very charming and polite in conversation, basically within I could be, from a Buddhist point of view, pretty much insane, unbalanced, prejudiced. And the basic prejudice, of course, clinging on, holding on to this I, me, mine, not letting go of that. So, of course, if we have a strong sense of I, me, mine, then it doesn't take much intelligence to realize that this is something we're going to have to defend. If you have something which you think is so important and real and true, then you, of course, you have to defend it and promote it. So therefore, what you think will bring it happiness and bolster it and make it stronger and happy, you grab for that, you want it, whatever it is. living or inanimate. And if anything appears to be a threat, person or a situation, anything, you push it away. It could be food, certain food you don't like, I don't like, even though people may be telling you it's good for your health, it'll stop you becoming diabetic, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's perceived as a kind of a threat to oneself, to one's wanting peace and happiness with one's own identity. So therefore we reject. And that's why some teachers have these strange phrases, which take a while to understand, that, we are so much in love with what is not good for ourselves. We're so much attached to what is harmful to ourselves. So that Shantideva, the great author of the text we've been looking at a lot, he says, sentient beings want happiness, but we run after suffering as though happiness were our enemy. We chase after suffering. We create the causes for suffering. So we need to understand this process. And that's what we mean really by understanding ourselves, making friends with ourselves, so that we can relate effectively with ourselves and the world and with other people. Because this clinging to I, me, mine creates havoc with our relationships with other people, with friends, with strangers, and of course with people we don't like. But it creates problems in all of those three sectors, those three categories. I'm not giving a sermon. This is food for thought. I may believe it, but I'm not saying you have to. We need to check these things out. But I would say that, yes, I have some very good authorities kind of on my side. Yes. As though, Buddha is one of my chelas instead of the other way around. Anyway, let me now slowly go through a passage, certain passages, and then we'll have a discussion. I might stop at certain points and we'll reflect on what has just been said. That will be useful. And then in about 20, 25 minutes, we can have some feedback and discussion. So I said before, I've come across some early Buddhist literature, early meaning early modern Buddhist literature from the early 70s. And I realized how amazing it is, how useful it is. There's been a lot, thousands and thousands of books have come out on Buddhism since the early 70s. But this one, these books by Tarthang Tulku are extremely, I would say, experiential, to the point, and very useful. So there's a chapter called Letting Go in his book on skillful means. Buddhism speaks a lot about skillful means, together with wisdom and compassion. Say you have a lot of compassion. Say you even have quite a lot of wisdom, understanding how things are. But if we don't know how to apply it, if we don't know how to integrate it in our life, it's like having amazing ingredients, but not knowing how to put them together to make something worthwhile. You may have the best quality, I don't know, ingredients. Okay, so I'll take an example from my British background. So you may have best quality eggs, you have best quality flour, and best quality milk, and so forth. You just don't know how to put it together to make good custard. You have no idea. You have a vague idea, but not a good idea. So whatever you do, it doesn't turn out right for a multitude of reasons. Everything needs to be just right, okay? We all know that, especially those of us who are quite good cooks. So even if you know how to make a good cup of tea, you know there's many factors involved, not just enough to have the best quality or good quality tea leaf or, you know, tea. It's not enough to have good quality milk if you take milk. It's not enough to have, good quality black pepper, cardamoms, whatever else you put in tea. You can put cloves, You have to know how to put it together. You have to know, you have to have some skill, If you put too much black pepper, it'll just be overpowering. If you take milk tea and you don't put enough milk in, it'll taste insipid, almost like sink water. If you overboil it, then it'll become very bitter, and so on and so forth. Which is why it's a good idea sometimes just to have simple Chinese tea. Just drop a few tiny amount of tea leaves in hot water and keep on drinking it, and adding hot water until it's homeopathic proportions. Anyway, so the point is skillful means. And we may have a lot of theories in our head, but if we don't know how to apply them, then we lack skillful means, and then we can't be effective in our life for ourselves or for other people. I think this is not very difficult to understand. So anyway, letting go is a very, very important skillful means, and it's part of this book called Skillful Means, which has a lot in it, not just exactly skillful means. Okay, so he starts this chapter by saying that we've all had the experience of not being able to remember a name. Not me. I certainly go through that a lot. Can't remember a name or the answer to a question. And then we try to focus our mind very hard. We put a lot of pressure on our mind trying to remember this thing. And so often what happens is we just let go. We can relax, forget about it for a while, just relax. And then by letting go of the problem, by allowing a natural kind of energy to flow again, the answer may pop up in the space of the mind, because the mind is not cramped and tight and wasting energy on being strained about something. So he says the quality of letting go can teach us how to live in a very fluid, easy way. There's a flow to our life rather than feeling that we are, as though we're in a car that is being driven by someone who's just learning and it's kind of jerking forwards and, or there's something wrong with the car. It can't move smoothly. It keeps on jerking back and forth and so forth. So a smooth approach, which we can then develop even the most complex of situations. When we let go of problems that are normally constricting our minds and our body, then we can release energy, which can move in a creative way, can move in positive directions. Otherwise, we're wasting a lot of energy in kind of internal doubt, conflict, shall I, shan't I, that kind of thing, And of course, so many other things like excessive regret or guilt or you name it, any of the disturbing emotions. They take up energy, which then we cannot utilize. So letting go is very liberating because it brings the play of creative energy into all of our actions, opening us to new possibilities of thinking and acting, new ways of being. See, Buddha and Bodhisattvas, those beings who are well on the way to Buddhahood, they're living in a different kind of zone almost from most of us, because they are not constricted. They're letting go. Some of them have very powerfully let go of any constricting sense of I, me, mine. That doesn't mean that they don't know how to, doesn't mean they don't know the difference between their clothes and their partner's clothes, and that, they don't think that when their friend or whatever puts food in their mouth, then it's being put in their mouth. They don't become stupid in that sense, but also they're not holding on strongly to I, me, mine. So there's not that excessive grasping at what I want, what I don't want, what I fear, what, etc., what I need, and all of that. So there's so much energy left for something much more creative to happen. It's just, energy is not wasted on internal conflict. Just as one might say, if you are if you're a normal person, or especially if you're a peace activist or something, you would say that the incredible amount of money being spent and energy being spent on people fighting one another in this world, imagine if that energy and money was released into creative and beneficial pursuits. I mean, it's staggering. It's just mind-boggling. This drone that was intercepted by a Russian jet over the Black Sea, forced down, it cost 32 million, this drone. Of course, you think of a drone as just some kind of, fancy, I don't know, plaything, but these drones are sophisticated. Anyway, one costs $32 million. I was thinking, wow, if I had $32 million, I could do a lot with that in terms of the kind of things that my teacher, for example, wants to do. Education, Dharma center. One could pretty much build a whole center that one was thinking about, with the cost of one reconnaissance and also, of course, destructive machine like that kind of drone, the Reaper drone, which is not just reconnaissance, it can fire missiles and stuff, make very amazing looking, videos where you blow something to smithereens by remote control. So anyway, I'm saying that energy in this world is directed towards conflict. On the inner level, we direct so much energy to kind of maintain, also maintenance of ego, maintenance of who I think I am. Isn't that exhausting? We may not even have thought about it much. I'm not just talking about the amount of money and time we spend on maintaining our bodies. Of course, that is also something amazing. And of course, to a certain level, very intelligent and good to do. But think of the time and energy and the money of that whole industry of, taking care of our bodies. And what we might say, the extra, which is not really essential for survival. And then what we're doing to just maintain this body, this mind, all the thoughts, all the little things we say and do and hope and fear, all based on who we think we are or we should be. Always calculating. It's exhausting. Or if you're a father, if you're even a modern, forget traditional or rural, even a modern urban Indian father trying to marry off your son or daughter, especially your daughter, then think of all of the garbage that has to go through your mind, Sorry, garbage may be not the best word. All of the checking, all of the, comparing, all of the prejudices connected with that, all of the heartache, all of the anxiety of the parents as well as the child, the young person. So that drains a lot of energy. That is, you could say, just torturing ourselves. And then maybe, you see, of course, the irony there, the dreadful irony there, the parent finds what they consider the best, the best candidate for their son or daughter, spend a lot of money on the wedding, and then, is that adding to the sum of human happiness or not? Incredible problems and pain and sadness, pain, suffering, even violence that is there. So, violence on all levels. I don't just mean physical violence. That's only one manifestation. So we're constantly being violent to ourselves by not letting go. All the time, we're being violent to ourselves. This is the thesis we are putting forward. You're very free to disagree. So because it's a common tendency in our culture to hold on to things, letting go at first appears to be an ineffective response to a problem. The phrase we have in English, "to the bitter end," expresses the value we place on holding on to our ideas and emotions and plans and so forth. And you can see it in this war. They're going to fight to the bitter end, right? No one's going to give up. Also because some people, don't forget, are benefiting from this war, Not the soldiers, not their mothers, but we know who's benefiting, right? We may try to exert control, and I don't mean Putin. I don't think Putin's benefiting. I don't mean him so much. I mean, there's a lot of range of people benefiting, making money out of it. We may try to exert control over our experience by maintaining a consistent point of view. From childhood, we're taught this type of control. And by exercising it, we actually learn to suppress or hold back both our ideas and our feelings. We come to think of letting go as somehow giving in, losing control. So at times, in order to maintain control, to protect this me, our self-image, or convince others that we're right, we may choose to hold on to our views, even when we know that they may be wrong. It may seem that holding on to a position indicates perseverance and strength. But what it's doing is actually reinforcing rigidity, which narrows our perspective, prevents us from seeing the reality of a situation. It's hard to see reality of a situation because, isn't it, the tendency of our mind is to hold on to something. Or, for example, if there's a match or a war going on, we instinctively want to take sides. We want to be on one side or the other, somehow. It's hard to have a wider perspective, let's say. We want to have someone who is wrong and another person who's right. We want goodies and baddies, like in the early Western movies, which I watched a lot of as a child on TV in England. So there's goodies and there's baddies. And the Red Indians are the baddies and the cowboys are the goodies, So we're always doing that in life. So why? Why this rigidity? Why this need for control? When we react to difficulties in a tense and inflexible way, though we may not realize it, we're actually holding on to fear. We hold feelings in check because we fear exposing ourselves and our beliefs to the reactions of others. And there's an underlying lack of self-confidence, which causes us to lock up many of our feelings and our true beliefs inside us. We fear, don't we, what other people's reaction will be. We fear rejection and so forth. So here again, we need to learn to let go of fears, but we can't let go of fears because we're constantly thinking about them. Whereas one basic Buddhist method to let go of fear would be to stop engaging in all of the images and stories, what the modern jargon is narrative, the narrative around our fear, but just to pay attention to the sensations in our body when we experience fear. What's happening in our body at that point? Where is there tension? Where are we holding on in the body? And we can take a few deep breaths and let go with the out breath. Normally we don't do that. Keep on thinking about what is causing the problem, what is the origin of the fear, the problem, the situation. And we can, as we know, blow it out of all proportion. We can invent something that's not even true, which is what we're doing, of course. Oh, if I do this, what will this person say? I think this person doesn't like me, etc. We can make huge things, and then often we find out what we thought was totally wrong, totally the opposite of what we thought. The reality was opposite of what we were worried about, but still there's that tendency in the mind to keep on. Again, we create some other problem. Again and again. So when we say in the prayer, may I be well and happy, and that how wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and its causes. Well, one of the main causes of happiness surely is letting go. And then when we're really letting go, there's nothing to defend. In a sense, the question of self-confidence almost becomes redundant because we don't feel strongly there's any particular self that we have to be confident about. There just is confidence. Confidence is. Don't have to relate it to a self, me. Because as soon as we bring me strongly into the equation, then it becomes, doesn't it, a little tricky, because then we have to maintain me. Me requires a lot of maintenance, like a very expensive car or whatever, or a car that's falling apart. That also needs a lot of maintenance. So if we can relax and let go and just be with the feelings and with the breath and not buy into what the stories are saying, the stories in our head, if you like, then we might find that we are far more relaxed, far more open and spacious and able to enjoy existence rather than be fighting with it all the time. If you look at people's faces, one of the reasons I love going on the metro is all the people, and looking at them and their faces. But of course, I don't see many happy faces. Happiest faces seem to be young people who are talking with each other, especially very young people, chatting and so forth. But if they're on their own, then often they're not like that at all. If they're walking alone or sitting alone, then they're not. And of course, everyone is somehow, the smartphones are monopolizing most people's attention. So why is it, why can't people have relaxed, happy faces? Or look at each other more and smile? Well, we know partly the answer to that. Well, we know the deep answer, but also the sociological answer would be that, we don't know. If we smile at someone, maybe they'll take it the wrong way, or maybe they won't smile back, or, whatever. It's a, if you're who you are and the other person is another, according to the context, you could even be scolded or arrested for smiling at certain people too much. So, it's a dangerous game, showing one's feelings, even if they come from a place of openness and kindness. And of course, most people, unfortunately, and this is unfortunate, most people are not in really, I think, relaxed and enjoying. They're just trying to quickly get to their platform and get on the train. Not many people wait for the next train that may be a little bit more spacious, crowding in. Then, I mean, it's annoying, but also very funny. When the train stops, often the people on the train are the last to get off. The people who want to come in, get in first. They scramble in. However many announcements they make that allow people to get off first. No. Why are they trying to get in so fast? They want a place to sit, right? We want. So it's all, this is what keeps samsara merrily, turning. Self-preoccupation. Me, I need to be comfortable. It's just natural. You don't even have to think about it. So this is a cause of suffering. It's like an open wound. Keep on having to take care of it. So how wonderful. This is also connected, of course, with the immeasurable compassion. How wonderful it would be if all beings were free of suffering and the causes of suffering. So we've been talking about the cause of suffering. Holding on, grasping at I, me, mine. Not letting go. So anyway, let's have some discussion. Just a sec. Yeah. Just a sec. Sorry, where are we? Oh, yeah. This is where best quality hot chocolate drink would be so nice. That's where my mind is now, folks. Hot chocolate drink. I'm kidding. Okay, next. Yeah. Nitya has a question here at Tushita.
Is one of the antidotes.
Could you speak up a bit? You know how deaf I am.
Why does Buddhism advocate one of the antidotes to letting go of the I as focusing on the sensations in the body when you get caught up in the habit? Why is that the
Why do you think? So why does Buddhism recommend focusing on the sensations in the body? How does that, rather than focusing on the narrative, she's saying, how does that help? Why does that, how does that solve the problem? You tell me. Doesn't it solve it, at least temporarily? You're worried about this, that, and you're thinking and worrying. And we're saying, just come back to the body. What does the body feel like? So at that point, the thoughts are not there anymore.
But the problem is still there.
No, right then it's not there. And we are also training ourselves not to get caught up in the thinking process. So the more we do that, the more we can simply let go of thoughts, or even when they arise, we just don't take them that seriously, those kind of thoughts. We can just see them as fast-moving clouds in the sky.
Sometimes you need to use your thoughts and your reasoning abilities to
Thought-
solve the problem, right?
Thoughts and reasoning have their place, of course. As you know, there are meditations where we use reasoning, obviously, especially for certain people, logic and reasoning is very effective. For most people, probably to a certain degree, but for some people even more. But say you have repetitive, painful thoughts, memories, images, how is reasoning and thinking going to help it? You're already overloaded with thinking. So I'm not saying thinking cannot help there, it could, but it's just like we need a respite. You know, just like if, let's just say, you live in a house where there's the color black or white or green all over the place, you know, and all you're exposed to is green or black or white, then you want to get out and see some other colors, you know. It just is restful and gives you a break. And not a good example, but anyway, sometimes it's good to let go of the thinking and just be with the body. Sometimes it's good to go outdoors and just space out looking at leaves or trees or the sky. And that is recommended in Buddhism. It's not just to space out in a negative sense, just letting go and relaxing. They say one of the best things they recommend for meditators who need really to relax and let go is to focus, if possible, on a distant horizon, on something a long way away, which is why it's good to meditate in the mountains. Then you can focus on a far horizon. Just relax with that sense of spaciousness. Because we're too, we're like, what shall I, yeah, it's a traffic jam. In ourselves, it's just like a traffic jam. With constant blocks and accidents, you know, just creating more and more pileups. So then there's no way to have a free flow of energy. And it all comes down to the energetic level. How much energy is there? How are we vibrating? You know? Could someone bring me some more hot water? No, this time it's Nitya's turn.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she trained as a waitress in a past life. Yeah. Sorry, Bob. You won't get your bonus today.
Will I be able to stretch my leg?
Yeah, stretch your legs.
I'm very stiff. You can
Haji, anything online while the people at Tushita are distracted? No? Okay, good. Everything's crystal clear. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anything? Is conflict ever productive? That's a very good question. What do we think? Let's give that to others. That's my pleasure. Thank you, Gunjan. Is conflict ever productive? This is our question. Or is it always, as I've said, kind of implied, it's always draining? Energy gets drained, so energy cannot flow. It just creates more blockage, more suffering. Is conflict ever productive? Anybody? What is this? No.
Well, perhaps it can be used to find clarity. So
How is that?
if we are skillful enough to actually navigate through a conflict.
Okay, you mean a conflict, say, with another person or even a country?
No. An internal conflict.
Internal.
Um,
Okay.
So say if one has on one side an inclination towards more mastery, and on another one wants to take the easy way out and just concentrate on one's daily activities, one's work or whatever.
Then that's a conflict.
Yes, it is.
So how would one work with that in a skillful way?
Yeah, so that would again be subjective, I suppose, because I have had those conflicts when I was working in Delhi in the Supreme Court. Um, and it has always been beneficial in a manner.
Could
It
you
has given
explain?
me clarity in the long run. My priorities have become clearer.
Can you give an example in any way? Just a bit more nitty-gritty example? This feels a bit theoretical.
All right. So you have been to the library project that we had set up. Mondays evenings initially were designated as days where I would go and spend about 4 to 5 hours there. And I joined a senior advocate at that time. And he wanted me to come on Mondays after a while. And I had to say that I am already occupied because Mondays evenings would have meant much more money. But I found the work that I was doing in the library quite rewarding because, yeah. So I just stood my ground. I had to leave that place after a few months, but still, I don't regret that.
You had to leave the court, you mean?
I had to leave that particular advocate working with him.
Advocate, yes, yeah. So
this was about 10 years ago, yeah.
So the conflict brought into focus what you cared about more, and then you focused on what you cared about more. So in that sense, it was helpful.
Yes, yes. And there were cumulative returns later on. So yes, yeah.
Okay. There you are, Gunjan Ji. I think very useful answer. Even conflict, external conflict with somebody might be useful if both sides, or at least one side, is able to then de-escalate and understand what's been happening and then work towards reconciliation, isn't it? But usually people aren't. They just keep on going to the bitter end, or, you know, stop talking to one another for 20 years or forever or something. Then it becomes then it's, painful. But even conflict, any kind of conflict could be beneficial long term if the intention is there to use it as a way. It's like if you get really sick. So you get really sick as a result of leading your life in the wrong way or having a very poor diet, and then it leads to all kinds of problems in the body. But then one learns from that and changes what one's doing. So it could be, conflict could be a wake-up call, could be. But unfortunately, often we're not skillful enough or persevering enough or courageous enough. And we don't want to back down. It's like egos become involved, so we don't want to back down. So in the context of today, neither Zelensky wants to back down, nor his backers, nor Putin or his backers. No one wants to back down. No one wants to let go. Because, of course, as politicians, it would not just be loss of face, it would be loss of votes and loss of position even, maybe. All the angry mothers would then rise up and have more power over a politician if they lost or were seen to lose a war, etc., etc. I can't imagine how many heartbroken mothers there must be on both sides. I don't know what the figures are. No one knows the exact figures, obviously, how many have died, but it's been a lot, especially in this last bloody fight for Bakhmut, this town. Yeah. What else? Good, thank you, good question. Very useful answers. Sorry, we didn't get to meditate in between. This often happens. This blah, blah, blah goes on. But maybe some food for thought. Any questions for you, sir? As a beginner, anything? Maybe a lot of it is new. Was it helpful? Are you working or are you a student? Working. Are you enjoying your work? Huh? Not really, did you say? Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah. You haven't smiled yet. Now it's the first time you're smiling since you came. So you have to exercise those smile muscles sometimes, otherwise they'll become stiff. I was also wondering today how many people say thank you to the in horse cars. Let me explain. In the horse cars interchange, we have the yellow line and the magenta line. And actually the interchange section is now quite fascinating for people like me. It takes 5 minutes, you see, to walk from where I usually get on the metro to the magenta line. And you pass a lot of people and shops and places to eat. So today on my way back from Monirka, where I'd gone, I was very hungry. So I stopped at the Chayos, who make tea, but they also, I discovered, make excellent poha. It's the cheapest thing they have, and it's really good. So initially, I think I slightly upset the lady by saying I didn't want the combo with tea because I'd already had enough tea this morning. So I don't know, she wasn't very pleased that I didn't jump at the idea of the combo, but then I had to repeat at least 3 times that I just wanted the poha. And then she made the poha, which is really good, And I thanked her at the end when I was leaving, and she liked that. But I don't know how many people thank each other, for those things. Not many. What's that?
Indians have forgotten how to say thank you, sorry, please.
Yes, indeed.
Lack courtesy.
3 very important words.
Nobody wants to do business with Indians.
Bob is reminding us that we've forgotten how to say thank you, please, and what's the third?
Sorry.
Sorry. Yes, sorry. Very important word. Sorry.
Most important.
Maybe. Sometimes, yes. Anyway, what I'm saying is it's not hard. It's not hard, actually, to do something that makes another person a little bit happier. And we should engage in that as much as we can. is my feeling. Or as Mother Teresa once said, apparently, it's not that we have to do great things all the time, but we must do small things with a lot of love. That is, I think, something really good. So it's not like, I had any strong attachment or wasn't falling in love with the lady in Chios, but it's like I could see, I just felt, what's it like to live in that place without any natural light or windows or anything, having to work all, I don't know what hours they work. And then you must get all kinds of people, and then who says thank you, who even smiles at you. And so, one just wants to do something. And plus, I was very happy with the poha. If I hadn't been happy with the poha, maybe I'd have scowled at her. I'm not sure. I hope not. But it was really good for 72 rupees, I tell you, nowadays. Not bad. And it had some achar, it had nimbu, and yeah. नींबू था, अचार था. अचार नहीं, it had chutney and बूंदी. बूंदी भी था एक, वो तो घर ले आया मैं, वहाँ नहीं खा सका, वो घर ले आया. दही में डालेंगे. Bundi is like crisp things made out of lentil flour or chickpea flour. Very tasty little things you can mix with yogurt. So I brought that home. So I hope, win-win situation. And then you can sit there and watch all these people being in a hurry. And it's entertaining as well as you feel a little sorry. But also okay, because all these colorful dresses of some of them. Although I didn't see any other man with a kurta. So I was a bit sad that no one wears traditional clothes anymore. If you see Afghanis and people, they almost always have kurtas. But actually, there must be a lot of Afghanis going around without kurtas now, poor things, with shirts and whatever.
Kabir ji.
Haji. Hello, Pradeep sir, you have woken up, sir. Yes.
I have lately, in the last few years, realized the power of smile and hello to people around whom you don't know, especially to older people like me. Maybe they are more lonely and need more attention.
Yes, maybe.
Wonderful. It's wonderful when you smile and say hello to people you don't know.
Is it?
And
if they don't
yeah,
smack you.
especially older people who don't feel threatened that you're trying to. If you do it with younger people, they are so involved and distracted. Maybe as you were earlier saying, that they might think that, oh, he has a motive. He probably is threatening, or he is probably trying to.
Dirty old man.
But you do it with older people, the way they smile back and get pleased, as if you have recognized them, and there is a world other than them which is responding. It's wonderful. Like, you really feel very happy about it.
It would work, yeah, for most. Yeah. With me, it's a bit different because I look strange. I look different. I look like a foreigner. And if I'm shaved, then that adds to the strange qualities. So sometimes people are a bit, wary with me. But I think a good, handsome North Indian like yourself, no problem. Yeah.
No, I'm saying with older people, not with younger. If you do it to younger people, maybe they might
think
react.
older people can't be handsome? What are you talking
No,
about?
I'm not talking about handsome. I'm saying their responses.
Okay. Pradeep ji was a journalist. Were you a journalist or are you still a journalist, Pradeep ji? Are you retired?
I was a journalist. No, I'm no longer a journalist. I don't enjoy it.
Amazing surname. His surname is Magazine. Really. His surname is Magazine, spelt Magazine. How did you get that surname, by the way?
It comes from Armory. My great-grandfather was Maharaja Hari Singh, who was the ruler of J&K. He used to work in his armory. So that magazine is the...
Armory, where they have the magazine is another word for where you have armaments. Okay. Well, the magazine of a gun. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Fantastic. Well, yes. Good. Understand. In Kashmir, you're saying?
In Kashmir.
Okay, thanks, Pradeep ji. So I'm glad you're also one of the smilers.
I wasn't. It's the day I came to you about 8-10 years back, and I realized that one has to look outside more than lamenting and thinking that, oh, this is wrong, that is wrong, and that leads to nothing. Holding on to yourself, which is quite disastrous.
You were sitting right there where Surabhi is sitting right now, and you always look miserable. Well, for a while, and then you started cheering up. Yeah. You started cheering up. And now you're fully cheered up.
Right now I am.
Yeah. But I broke that mug that you brought from Scotland. I was so upset.
No, that's fine.
Died a natural death. Yeah, I really like that. So next time your daughter comes back from Scotland.
She's here.
Huh?
She's not. She's here. She's in Ashoka University. She's teaching there.
Yeah, what a shame. Anyway, You must be happy at that.
The mug is no inherent existence, so it is okay. Mug had to break somewhere.
I was hoping it was permanent, but turned out not to be. Yeah. Okay, let's dedicate now. We can dedicate any positive energy, insight, or sense of basic goodness we may have experienced in the last hour and a half, that there is some light at the end of the tunnel, that things aren't all dark and destruction, but there is basic human quality, goodness, spaciousness, intelligence, and kindness. So may these qualities flourish for the benefit of all sentient beings. May beings who are fighting each other, may they stop fighting. May those who have suffered so much in all of the conflict around the world, may they be helped or soothed by the kind attention of others. May the teachings, authentic teachings, last a very long time. And the great teachers like His Holiness Dalai Lama and our own teachers, Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche and others, may they have long and healthy lives and all their wishes be fulfilled. May our lives be most meaningful for others and thereby naturally for ourselves as well. May we see the wisdom of Buddha's teaching, especially of no self, non-inherently existing self, and the wonderful, skillful quality of his teachings on compassion and so forth, and loving kindness. May we be kind to ourselves by learning to slow down, pay attention, and not burning out, through hyperactivity, trying too hard, and all of the other ways in which we self-destruct. And please pray for those of us amongst us in our Sangha and others who are sick and ill. Especially pray, please. Pray, please, for Prama Bandari, our landlady, who hasn't been well for quite some time, but bravely carrying on. And for other students like Maya Joshi, who's been very sick the last few years, constant health issues, and all the other people we know who are sick physically or having mental problems, unhappy or whatever. Okay, so thank you all very much for your patience. And so, yeah, there'll be this puja tomorrow online and also at Tushita at 6 p.m. And then our regular Sunday morning program at 11. So, yeah, have a good evening and good night.